So meaning of inflation. So my question to you, what do you mean by inflation? So take 1 minute and please type it. So coordinator, please pass on the message of the students. What do you mean by inflation? So a very simple question that I have posted for you. Please tell me, what do you mean by inflation? Hindi means महंगाई. Okay. So in Hindi it means महंगाई. Okay. So when we talk about inflation, okay. So in inflation there are three components. Three component there are in the meaning of inflation, and these three component are, number one is rise in the prices. Rise in the prices. This is the first component. Okay. So normally when I ask you the inflation term, so most of the people say rise in the prices. Yes, this is correct. But rise in the prices of what? All products in an economy or only essential? So when we talk about inflation, we focus only on essential products. Okay. Rise in the prices of essential products. Okay. Now here when we talk about rise in the prices, now sometimes some students used to say me like this, sir, it should be, you can say, gradual or persistent rise. Yes, that is inflation. But if it is sudden rise also, that is also inflation. Okay. So rise can be sudden also, rise can be persistent or gradual also. Okay. So ultimately the rise can be, you can say, sudden as well as persistent, or you can say gradual. Okay. Now when we talk about essential products, so essential products here means we are talking about those products which are consumed by masses, which are consumed by masses, or you can say majority. Okay. Which are consumed by masses, or you can say majority. So for example, you can say onion, tomato. Okay, they are consumed by masses. Petrol, diesel, they are consumed by masses. Similarly, when I talk about onion, tomato, there can be organic onion, organic tomato. No doubt they are the luxury items. Okay, so we are talking about those onion and tomatoes which are consumed by masses, not organic. Okay, so ultimately there are some people in my class, they can eat, you can say, organic fruits and vegetable. So I am not talking about organic, I am talking about those which we are getting right now, or you can say produced using fertilizers. Okay, so you can say inorganic I am talking about. Okay, so organic fruits and vegetable are luxury. Okay, I am talking only about essential one which masses consume. Okay. Now this is what you can say two component. So there is third component also when we talk about inflation. Now with respect to third component, I will give you, you can say, cases, or you can say two cases. Case 1, price of essential products get increased. So please listen it carefully. Price of essential product get increased, but the income of the people in an economy is either remain same, or you can say constant, or it decreased. This is case 1. Case 2. Okay, price of essential product increased. Okay, so in both the cases it increased, but income of the people also increased. Okay, so ultimately which is the case of inflation? Case 1 or case 2? Okay, which is the case of inflation? Case 1 or case 2? Please tell me. Definitely, no doubt, in both the cases prices are increased. Okay, so you can say both are the cases of inflation, but if you see the second condition, that income is same or decreased, whereas their income is increased. So ultimately this is the case of bad inflation. Okay, this is the case of good inflation. Okay, this is the case of good inflation. So ultimately what I want to say that whenever prices are increasing and simultaneously your income is increasing, okay, no doubt that is a case of good inflation. But here in inflation chapter, when we say a Hindi word महंगाई, so we used to see it as a negative connotation. So here this bad inflation is regarded as negative connotation. Okay, that is regarded as negative connotation. Okay, now ultimately what I want to say that if prices are increasing of, that is prices of essential commodities are increasing, but they are impacting the standard of living of majority people, then you will call as inflation. Okay, so ultimately the condition is that rise in price essential products and it impacts negatively the standard of living of the people. Okay, so it impacts negatively the standard of living of the majority. Okay, so it is like this: petrol and diesel prices increased, your income has not increased. So earlier when petrol and diesel prices has not increased, you are earning some income, for example X. So you can understand in this way. So you are earning 50,000 per month. Okay, and the petrol and diesel prices are, for example, 50 or 60 rupees per liter, for example. But so in that scenario you are going to your office by your car, but as the day petrol and prices increased, for example it increased to 150 rupees per liter, but your income is again 50,000 only. So in this sense you will see that you will change your standard of living. So how you will change your standard of living, that now you are started going or using public transport, or you can say you use carpooling, means sharing of car with your friend. So ultimately you impacted your standard of living. So ultimately rise in price, okay, of essential products, and that should have impact on your standard of living of the majority population, that is negative impact. Okay, so we are looking for negative impact. So if positive impact is there, like I talk about good inflation, okay, so then it is not regarded as inflation. Okay, so we are in inflation, this is the, you can say, the actual meaning of inflation. So I hope it is clear to everyone. Yes, Karan is saying sir महंगाई की मार, very good. Okay, so ultimately महंगाई की मार is the only one where you impacted. Okay, where you get impacted. So you can see that in last so many years, no doubt inflation is there, but people income has also increased. That is why महंगाई की मार was not there. Okay, that is why महंगाई की मार was not there. Okay, but if people income has not increased and only prices of essential product has increased, then you will see the महंगाई की मार. Okay, so this is what inflation. Clear to everyone? Okay, now moving further, so first we'll talk about good inflation. So if you see, good inflation act as an incentive for the economy. Okay, so if I talk about good inflation, you can say act as an incentive for an economy. Okay, for an economy. So you can understand in this way. For example, assume that there is only one factory in an economy. Assume that there is only one factory in an economy, and that factory is producing some product, for example product A. Okay, now assume that the price of this product is 10 rupees, and in 1 year this company has produced, for example 100 products. Okay, so in 1 year this company has produced how many products? that is 100 products. So can we say that the total income of the product, total income of this company is 1000 rupees. So this is the total income of the company, 1000 rupees that he earned in 1 year. Okay, that is per year. Now this income will be divided into certain proportion, means out of this total income that company earned in 1 year, okay, some portion will be given as a salary, or some part will be given as a salary, some part will be given as, you can say, other expenses. Other expenses means like there is electricity bill, water bill, rent of the place, okay, or rent of the factory, whatever, okay, other expenses. Now whatever is left, that is the profit of the company. That is the profit of the company. Now next year, employees of the company will demand for, more salary. I'll tell you the question which they can frame on this, okay. Demand for more salary, okay. Now when they demand for more salary, so no doubt one option is that company's owner must give profit, or you can say some part of the profit as a salary. So ultimately his profit will reduce. Second part is that he increase the production, okay. So ultimately one way to give more salary, or you can say demanded by more salary by the employees. So one way that he can share his profit, that company can share his profit, but if he share his profit, no doubt his profit will reduce. Second way, so ultimately there is a problem in this, so you can say company's profit will reduce, okay. Second concern is that he will increase the production. So if suppose he increase the production, so ultimately he will increase production for whom? So there should be buyer also, okay. So ultimately I produced 110 products, but only there are buyer only for 100 products. It means 10 products are waste for me, okay. So I will not produce more, okay. So ultimately there should be buyer also, yes or no. Now the third option that is left is he will increase the prices by a certain amount, okay. So for example, as our economy says that there should be inflation on yearly basis, that is 4 plus minus 2%. 4 plus minus 2%. So it means 4 plus minus 2% of 10 rupees. So we want that the prices must increase in this range, that is 2 to 6%. So for example, company owner increase the prices by 1 rupee. So the new price is 11 rupee, okay. So when he increase 1 rupee, that is 11 rupee. So ultimately when he increase the price, but again that price must be increased in certain limit, okay. That price must increase, again I am saying that price must increase in certain limit. So our economy has defined that limit is 4 plus minus 2%. So it means this inflation 4 plus minus 2% is good for the economy, and our government itself wants that every year inflation must be at 4 plus minus 2%, clear. So ultimately 4 plus minus 2% is the limit, okay. Now when this is the situation, no doubt, so it means 11 rupees, and again I assume that you produce 100 products. So now the new price that the company will earn is 1100 rupees, okay, 1100 rupees, and again this will be divided into 3 components, okay. That is company's staff, that is as a salary, okay, other expenses and profit. So ultimately all 3 have win-win situation, okay. Now ultimately this will increase the income of people employed, or you can say employees. Now once this will increase, it means this increased income is responsible for increasing the demand. Now this increase in demand is further responsible for increasing the investment by the company owner. And when this will increase, it means new employment generation. So this is what you can say, already those who are working. So you can say existing employees. Okay, this will new employment generation. So means freshers will also get the jobs. new employment generation. So ultimately freshers will also get the job, and ultimately this will lead to, you can say, GDP, okay, or increase in GDP, okay, and ultimately again price. So ultimately there is a relationship, there is a relationship. So if you have understood this thing, so please tell me, have you understood this thing? Okay, if you have understood this thing, in 2011, okay, in 2011, UPSC asked one question that economic growth is coupled with, so the answer is inflation. So the answer is inflation. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Okay. Okay. Clear? So economic growth is coupled with this. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Okay. Now there is one more term which I would like to discuss here itself. Now, have you heard the term fiscal drag? Okay. Have you heard the term fiscal drag? Now what fiscal drag says, that whenever there is inflation, so when I am talking about inflation, this limit, so it means if inflation is more than this limit, then it's a concern. Okay, if inflation is more than this limit, okay, then it's a concern. Or you can say if inflation is more than this limit, then you cannot ensure this thing. Now why it's a concern, we'll talk about in bad inflation. Okay, so I am right now talking about good inflation. Okay, so ultimately good inflation, if you see, this is nothing but 4 plus minus 2%. So you can say in the range of 2 to 6%. In the range of 2 to 6%. So I hope now you understood why it is important to maintain inflation in this range. Okay. Now bad inflation is that when your inflation is either less than 2%, so with respect to that we'll talk about in deflation. Okay, with respect to this we'll talk about in deflation, or your inflation is more than 6%, okay, then it's a concern. So this is bad inflation. So right now I'm only talking about good inflation. So whatever I have made you write, or you can say whatever concept I have made, that is with respect to good inflation, and good inflation, understand that I am talking about limit only. So it is, this rule does not apply for every type of inflation. So if you think that inflation is if 8 or 9%, then also this rule applies. No, this rule applies only when your inflation is in this limit. Clear? Or you can say this is regarded as good inflation. So that is why in an economy, every person welcome this price rise. Okay, so if prices are increasing in this range, we all welcome it. Why? Because we have our own benefit in terms of increase in income, in terms of increase in investment, in terms of new employment generation. Now if in mains question comes, okay, now if in mains question comes, although this is prelims class, just for your reference, if suppose in mains question come, how to increase the GDP of a country, okay, no doubt you have so many answers with you in your mind. Okay, we'll do this thing, we'll PLI scheme, so many scheme, falana, whatever. But you have to tell to the examiner one thing, that what is the first most important thing is that you have to maintain inflation. Okay, so managing inflation is a prerequisite. Okay, or you can say managing inflation at the level of 4 plus minus 2% is prerequisite, or is very, very necessary or must. Okay, then you can write anything. Okay, then you will see examiner will give you good marks. Okay. Okay, so ultimately this is the thing. Okay, now we'll talk about the term fiscal drag. Now what fiscal drag says, that whenever price rise in a limit, price rise whenever price rise in a limit. So now you know when I am saying in a limit, what does it mean? That is 4 plus minus 2%. Whenever price rise in a limit, no doubt, it is going to increase the income of people in an economy. Okay, income of people in an economy, and when their income will increase, it means now they will pay more taxes also. Okay, so you can say they will come and come into upper tax slab. Okay, so they will come into upper tax slab. Now, like you know, that's like person earning less than 7 lakh, that person does not have to pay taxes, income tax. Now, when inflation is there in the limit, okay, and ultimately my income also increased. Ultimately my income also increased. Okay, and with this increase in income, okay, so suppose earlier I was earning 6 lakh rupees per annum. Okay, now inflation is there. Okay, inflation is there. Now due to that inflation, my income becomes 8 lakh. So ultimately I come into upper tax slab. So this situation is called as fiscal drag. This situation is called as fiscal drag. Clear? Got it? Okay. I hope this is clear to you. Everyone. This situation is called as fiscal drag. So ultimately you can think of all the factories. Okay, you can think of all the factories in our country. They are increasing the prices of the product in a limit, and when they are increasing the prices of a product in a limit, it is increasing the income of all the people in an economy, those who are working. Okay, and ultimately this is going to increase the demand in an economy, and ultimately investment plus new employment generation. Okay, new employment generation and GDP. Okay, so you can say whenever people income will increase, okay, whenever people income will increase, that is it is going to also benefit by increasing the saving rate also. By increasing the saving rate also. Okay, so you can say saving rate is also increasing, as well as investment rate is also increasing. So it's a win-win situation. Clear?